Hello everyone. Good day to everyone. Hope everyone is fine. Now, today we are going to start with a new chapter, that is understanding quadrilaterals. Okay. Now, you people might be having idea about triangles, quadrilaterals, right? Now, how we define the triangles, what are the different type of triangles, what is meant by quadrilateral. But even though what we will see is just as a basic introduction to understand the concept very clearly on quadrilaterals. The chapter itself says that understanding quadrilaterals. So we should have a better idea on understanding the different quadrilaterals and what are their properties associated. Why we have to know the properties? Because as we proceed further, not in our higher studies, let's say 9th standard, 10th standard, and even you go further, whenever you deal with geometry or whenever you deal with some kind of mathematical problem or whenever you deal with some kind of area related problems and all, then quadrilaterals plays a very important role, and the properties of quadrilateral plays a very important role. Why? Because when we know the property on what are the exact properties of particular type of quadrilateral, then by looking at the figure itself we can identify how we can derive the conclusions out of it, right? So that is the reason why we have to first understand that what is meant by quadrilateral. Now the word quadrilateral can be broken down into two parts: quad, okay, and lateral. Okay. Now in this case, now quad, the very best way to understand is, now everyone is using mobile phones, smartphones. There is a processor associated with it. It says quad core processor or octo core processor. Now when we say quad core processor, it means four processors are there in that. So quad means what? Four. Okay. And lateral means it is nothing but sides. So when you combine this, it becomes your quadrilateral. It means what? A figure with four sides. And that four sides cannot be open. It cannot be like this. This is also one kind of shape, right? But this is not a quadrilateral. A quadrilateral has four vertices. Four vertices. Okay. And all these vertices are joined. There is no open space between any of the vertices. So like this, if all four vertices are joined, then this is termed as quadrilateral. And another important property of quadrilateral is what? These are the angles. Okay. Now, when you sum all these angles, the sum is always equal to 360 degree. Okay. So this is the very important point everyone should remember, that the quadrilateral sum of all angles of a quadrilateral is 360 degrees. Why? Because when you solve any of the problem, if you want to find some of the angles associated based on the condition, then there by default we take sum of all angles of quadrilateral is equal to 360 degree, like that. Okay. So before we exactly deep dive into the chapter, first we will understand what are the different type of quadrilaterals that are available, and then we will jump into the chapter and we will look at what exactly we need to process, or what exactly we need to progress on. Okay. Now we have different type of quadrilaterals. Now that different type of quadrilaterals can be categorized as, let me just erase this. Okay. Now quadrilaterals. If I take quadrilaterals, what I can say, let me take a different color here. Okay. So these are, now we have one as a rectangle. Okay. The second is your square. You have a parallelogram. You have rhombus. You have trapezium. Okay. So different kinds of quadrilaterals we have. Okay. Now one by one we'll study about the properties of each of these quadrilateral. Okay, now let me just draw the figure and explain one by one. Fine. So let me just erase this and we'll write it. Okay. Now, first of all, we'll see the property of rectangle. Property of rectangle. Okay. Now here, if we see rectangle, this is how the rectangle will be. Okay. Now by looking at rectangle, now let's say we name it as A, B, C, D. Okay. Now the first property of rectangle will be what? Opposite sides are equal. Opposite sides are equal. The second property are all angles are equal. Okay. The third property, if we see opposite angles are equal, it means your what we can say here, if we see the opposite angles, let me just see this is your 90, this is your 90, this is your 90, so this is your 90. So when you say your all angles are equal or opposite angles are equal, it is one and the same thing. Okay, the diagonals, when we say diagonals, these are diagonals are the segment which intersects two opposite points. Okay, now here if we see the diagonal intersect each other. Okay, so diagonals, let me just take it out. Diagonals intersect, or we can say it as bisect each other. Bisect each other perpendicularly. Okay, now the formula for rectangle is what? If you want to find the area of rectangle, fourth is area of rectangle is equal to length into breadth. And the same way, if you want to find out perimeter of rectangle is equal to 2 into L plus B, right? So this is how we write the formulas. Now let us just once again see opposite sides are equal. Now when we say opposite sides are equal, it means segment AD or side AD is equal to side BC, and we say side AB is equal to side DC. It means, now let's say this is of 4 centimeter, then this is also of 4 centimeter. It is of 2 centimeter, then the opposite side is also of 2 centimeter. That's why we say that the opposite sides of rectangle are equal. Okay, first thing, all angles are equal. Why? Because all the sides are perpendicularly intersecting with each other. So perpendicularly, when we say, then these are nothing but your 90 degrees, right? These are your 90 degrees angles. So all angles in rectangle are equal. And likewise, what we can say, even if you want to further say that the sum of opposite angles of rectangle is 180, or we can say that the adjacent angles of rectangle are 180. So these are the basic things. Just looking at the rectangle itself, we can say it. Important thing is, now these are the diagonals. Okay, now these diagonals, they bisect each other perpendicularly. Okay, now the diagonals the diagonals do not bisect each other. I am referring to the square. So the diagonals do not bisect perpendicularly to each other, but they intersect at one particular point, that is, and when they intersect at one particular point, we see that the sides are equal. Okay, so this is the property of rectangle related to diagonal. So what we can say to diagonal, that the diagonals bisect each other, not perpendicularly, but they only just they bisect each other. Perpendicularly is for square, not for rectangle. Okay, please take a note of it. Likewise, if we see the property of rectangle, area of rectangle, what we can say area of rectangle, it is length into breadth. So this is length into breadth. Now orally, if you want to see that the length is 4 centimeter and the breadth is 2 centimeter, then the area of rectangle will be what? 4 into 2. It is 8 centimeter square or square centimeter. Okay. Now rectangle is what? Perimeter of rectangle is what? Now what does perimeter means? Sum of all the sides. Now the four sides are there. So if we define particularly the perimeter, it will be 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 4. So for that, what we are writing, 2 into L plus B, 2 into length plus breadth is nothing but your perimeter. So this is how the property of rectangle can be defined. So here one thing, just please take a note of it, that the diagonals bisect each other, okay, but they are not perpendicularly bisecting each other. Okay, so that thing, please make a note of it. Now second property we will see about rectangle, square. We'll take it off. Okay, so square. Now when we see square, square means what? All sides will be equal. Okay, square is all sides are equal. So the first property will be what? All sides are equal. Okay, now second property is all angles are equal again. So be it is 90, this is 90, this is 90 and this is 90. So second is all angles are equal. Okay, and each angle is of 90 degree, right? Because the sides, they perpendicularly intersect. So whenever we say perpendicularly intersect, then it means they are of 90 degree. Now again, just to see, if we consider the opposite sides, now what we can say, opposite angles, again we can say that the opposite angles of square are equal, or we can say the sum of opposite angles of square are 180, and again we can say that the adjacent angles are equal and the sum of adjacent angles are again 180. So this is just to remember its basic property. Now coming to the diagonal part, in the earlier example there was a bit confusion stating that related to diagonal. Here if we see that the diagonals are perpendicularly bisecting each other, it means here also if you see the angle, then each angle that is formed by intersection of two diagonals is of 90 degree. It means the diagonals of the square are perpendicularly bisecting each other. Why, when we say bisecting, means whenever there is an intersection. So here what we can see is the sides are again equal. This one is equal to this one is equal to this one, like that. Okay, so this is the important property. And if we see area of a square, now all sides are equal, right? So it is equal to side square. Now perimeter of a square is equal to sum of all sides. Sum of all side means now here all sides are equal. So what I can say, 4 into side. Why 4 into side? Because there are 4 sides and we are multiplying 4 into one side, then it will automatically give the total boundary length. So that is nothing but your perimeter of a rectangle. Okay, now we'll see about the next one, that is your parallelogram. Okay, so let me just take it out. Fine. Okay, now what we'll see is about parallelogram. Okay, now the parallelogram picture will be, or the diagram will be like this. So here if you write this one, what we can say is, first one, it is like a rectangle. If you give a little bit push to the rectangle, then you will see that there is a little disturbance in the shape and it gets formed into your parallelogram. So here what I can say, that again opposite sides are what? Opposite sides are equal. So one basic property will be what? Opposite sides are equal. Opposite sides are equal. The second property will be what? Just guess, if opposite sides are equal, then what could be the other property? Here if you see this angle and this angle, and the same way if you take this one, this angle and this angle, what we can say? Opposite angles are equal. Okay, so this is your basic property of what we can say, parallelogram. Okay, now let us see the property of trapezium or trapezoid. It's very simple. Trapezium or trapezoid. So it will be like this one here. Okay, A, B, C, D. Okay, now by looking at the figure, what we can say, that one pair of opposite sides of trapezium are parallel. One pair of opposite side of trapezium are parallel. Okay, so this is the property of trapezium. Now if we see rhombus is again, let me just take it out. If you see rhombus, it's a form of square. If you give a little bit push to the square, then it gets converted into your rhombus. So let me just write it out. Rhombus, rhombus. Okay, so just like this, like this. Okay, now the first property is what? All sides of rhombus are equal. All sides of rhombus are equal. Sorry, let me just write it out. Equal. Second is what? Opposite sides are parallel. This is very important. Opposite sides are parallel. Why? Because if you look at the picture itself, you should be able to make it out that which side is parallel to which one, because this one and this one will be parallel and this will be parallel. So that's why we say that opposite sides of rhombus are parallel. And another important thing is opposite angles of rhombus are equal. Opposite angle of rhombus are equal. So if we say, let me just change the color, it's here. So if we say here this one is equal, and likewise if we deal with some other angle, remaining angle, this one and this one is equal. So what we can say, that the opposite angles of rhombus are equal. Now as we have seen in the square that the diagonals bisect each other perpendicularly. So in rhombus also we will have diagonals, they bisect each other in perpendicular. So fourth one is what? Diagonals bisect perpendicularly. Okay, so this is the property of rhombus. Rhombus here. Now the last one we'll see is about kite. Okay, now most of you people might have already knowing this one, the properties, because we fly kites, right? So like this, like this, like this, and like this. Okay, now here what we can say, that the diagonals intersect at right angles. Now from here and here if you draw the diagonal, then they are intersecting at right angle. It means they are forming 90 degree. So the first important properties are what? Diagonals intersect in right angles, that is 90 degree. Okay, or we can say that the diagonals intersect each other perpendicularly. This is the easy statement. Okay, easy to remember also. Another important property is one diagonal bisect the other diagonal. Okay, now here if you see, the bigger diagonal is bisecting the smaller diagonal, means it is dividing this kite diagonal into two equal parts. So what we can say, second is one diagonal bisect the other diagonal. Okay, means bisect the other diagonal means what? Whatever the division that happens, the two pieces will be equal. Okay, or two parts of the segment will be equal. Now here what we can say, one pair of opposite sides are equal. Now here if we say this pair is equal to this one pair of opposite sides are equal this one. Okay, likewise this is equal to this. Now when you fly the kite, if these two sides are not equal or any one of the side is not equal, then will you be able to fight? First of all, you will not be able to even tie the knot and just make them fly, right? So this sides has to be equal, right? So these are what? These are the basic properties of kite. Now hope you people understood this, and if anyone is having any kind of doubt, please post your comments below the video. Please like the video if you like the explanation, and share your views. And if you have any comments, please post it out, and I request you to please subscribe to the channel so that you will keep on getting the updated videos. Thank you very much. Thank you.